Welcome to the Mel Robbins Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so happy to be here.
I am so excited to have you here. I can't wait to learn from you. And I know the person that is here with us is excited too. And so I'd love to start by having you just share with the person who's here, what could they experience that could be different about their life or their future if they take everything that you're about to teach us and share with us today to heart?
I love that as a place to start. I honestly think about my life, and more specifically my career, as a bit of a blueprint for what happens when you, A, take responsibility for yourself, and when you really manage your thoughts carefully. And I think if there's anything that I've learned, it's that the combination of those two things will take you really, really far in life.
So taking responsibility for yourself and your life.
Yeah, and choosing your thoughts really carefully.
Choosing your thoughts really carefully.
Because it's a choice.
And when you do that, what happens?
You know, when you do that, somehow your life starts to align. And it's really interesting because it's a practice. Like, I feel like I'm in practice to be the woman that I want to be constantly. And so I have to really think about those things. And so when you bring those two things together, it allows you to be really, really purposeful. And the outcome starts to just manifest, like it starts to actually happen.
So a lot of people know that you're a judge on Shark Tank. You are the co-founder of several billion-dollar companies. Congratulations on making the Forbes 100 Self-Made Women list.
Thank you.
But most people don't know where this all began. And so I want to go back to the beginning, to East London, and talk about what life looked like when you were little.
Well, you know, I was brought up in East London, which is a bit like, you know, if you were born in Harlem or Crenshaw or something like that, like maybe, you know, the rough side of the tracks, if you want to see it like that. I'm the oldest of four girls, raised by a wonderful, wonderful single mum. And, you know, I guess life was a little bit tough. You know, my mum did the best that she could with the little that she had. And, you know, I always think about our relationship dynamics as like, you know, she was the dad, I was the mum, and we had 3 kids together. Oh my God. You know, I was a very parentified child, if you like to say it that way. And I have a very, very close relationship with my 3 sisters as a result of that, because I was really part of raising them and, you know, looking after them. I used to get up in the morning and iron 3 school shirts and make 3 packed lunches and send them off to school. And sometimes, you know, I wouldn't go to school myself. I'd be exhausted by that point. But, you know, I was really raised by a family, like my mum's family, her sisters, her mum were huge, huge parts of our life.
It checks out, honestly, because you're so driven and you are the kind of person that I feel like you see something, you just do it. How do you think your childhood and that experience of taking care of your little sisters has impacted and shaped who you are today?
You know, in so many ways, and good and bad, if I'm honest. You know, I learned at a very young age to take a lot of responsibility for myself, but I was always on very high alert, right? Where I lived wasn't particularly safe. And so you had to think a few steps ahead constantly. But it also gave me this idea that I needed to get far away from where I was. I was very aware that my circumstances would be limited if I stayed where I was from. And so I had this idea that I would need to work really, really hard to get out of this place. But I knew I would, in a way. I just felt like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how this is going to work, but I've got to get out of here.
I think a lot of people feel like that.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
And so if the person that's listening or watching right now feels that way, but they are not sure that they're going to get out, what would you say to them? Because you have already said 2 things. You've got to take responsibility for yourself, for your life, for where you're going, and you got to choose your thoughts. So if you have this sense like there's more for me, I got to get out of here. I want to have something different, but then your thoughts are like, it worked for Emma, but I'm not that kind of person. What would you say?
Well, you know, the other thing is, Mel, so many people that come from a place like where I come from, there's this sense that you'll be abandoning where you come from, that actually it's the wrong